So I am thrilled to be able to introduce our next speaker, Peter Gordon. But before I dive into that, there was an interesting panel this morning in the earlier track where they asked what your walk-on song was. So just curious, who has a walk-on song? Because I didn't even think about that. 3 people. Yes. Okay. Yeah, apparently. Yeah. So I'm going to ask Peter to tell his walk-on song when he gets up here. Mine is Mr. Brightside by The Killers. And I have to say, I was nervous yesterday because I felt like Peter's emceeing yesterday morning was going to be such a tough act to follow. But he's been nothing but professional and kind to me asking him questions. And I am really excited about his keynote presentation and talking about real-time payments. So without further ado, please welcome to the stage, Peter Gordon.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. So what I want to do today is, you guys, if you saw me speak yesterday, what do we want to talk about? Build, connect, innovate. Well done, well done. So that's what we're going to talk about. But really what I want to do is bring embedded payments, real-time payments to life. So we talked yesterday about some of the connectivity stuff. And what I'm trying to do is really bring forward what is it? And so you get up, if I can bring these stories to life, bring these customers to life, how things will change in the customer environment, that's really key. So we're really trying to understand how we meet our customers where they are in the journey. Like, that's the simplest thing. I don't have to tell everyone in this room, it's about meeting you where you are in the digital journey, being simple. You know, these are some of the core tenets that we're looking at when we build, connect, innovate. See, well done, well done. So be simple, embed the payments in the customer experience, meet them where they are in the journey. So I'll talk about a couple real examples so you can see how we've done that for some examples that we are in the public about, and I'll hint at a few that we're working on. Flexibility, it's really about reducing pain points. We all know the Uber example, you know, you come from the airport, you know, no one thinks about the payment. Your credit card's in there, you're done. Well, the same thing, what's going to happen is those same experiences are going to be done in business processes. So that's a good consumer experience. When we think about complex purchases in ERP systems, complex buying and selling and payables and receivables, those are the next generation. I had breakfast with someone this morning, and I call myself a digital plumber. So, you know, my experience goes back like 30 years of doing like these deep like healthcare payments, EDI 820s, and like these things are finally, these legacy systems, consumer bill payments, all these things that are messy in the ecosystem, these are the things that we're, over the next 3 to 5 years, I believe, will be really transformed by embedding payments in the journeys where we are and improving them. And that's what we'll talk about. And then, you know, there's custom solutions. Like each industry, I think, is a little different. So consumer bill pay is one that I think will be really disrupted. Another one is title. So how many people have bought a home in the last, like, 5 years? When you go to close, there's 8 to 12 transactions at a close. It's a really complex, messy problem. And for those of you who don't know it, it's really bad. People lose a lot of money. It's very fraudulent. People get fake scams, and they send out money where it shouldn't go. And that thing at the close, getting title companies to do those 8 to 12 disbursements, do your tax payments, do your phone, your water, all those transactions and getting done seamlessly is describing what I mean by embedding payments in an existing process. So simply improve the customer experience. Robust APIs, easy access to real-time payment options. So yesterday we talked about, if you were here, we talked about these payment geeky things like for benefit of accounts. We talked about payment facilitation. So payment facilitation has been around for a long time of how you embed card transactions in a business process. Now we're adding account-based things, Zelle, RTP, using FBO accounts. And these are what we mean about giving one API to customers to be able to do card transactions, do Zelle, do RTP. That's where we're going. Simple, seamless, and one set of rules around that. That's the nirvana. So I'm going to give a couple, three real examples that we talk about today. So for those know about merchant processing, I know there's a few processors here. We're across the street from Elevon. Collecting your fees on weekends and holidays. So if we have a holiday coming up, Labor Day. So if you you go to your pizza place on a Friday, you swipe your card, that pizza shop is running on a very cash basis business, and they're not going to get their money in their bank account till Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of next week, because the ACH, how they clear those payments, don't end up in the merchant's account. So if you're running a small business on tight margins, as we know in this high inflation environment, you don't have your money. So we'll talk about, I think if I click it, they'll all go over. Or maybe not. Oh, there we go. So we talked about this yesterday, that Elevon, we allow funding every day, 365 days a year, 7 days a week, 365, for the funding to go. So Saturday, Sunday, Monday, so that restaurant can get their money over the weekend, can get their money on Saturday, Sunday, pay bills, tip people out on Sunday. So that's a real, think about it, you're a business, we have 40,000 customers doing that on a daily basis. A real example, changing people's lives, how they do business, helping cash flow for small businesses. And we're taking that out to other examples. We're moving from that, it's a daily process today, and we're piloting a real-time basis to be able to do it on demand. So that's where the innovation's going there. So then the next is a corporate example. So again, I mentioned like complex invoicing. So we work with Caterpillar dealers. So taking in like complex, you need a new plow, or you need a new part for that machine. It's complex. They go to these Cat dealers or these John dealers, and they need to process those payments, send out the invoice. So of course, e-commerce, you go to the website, you pick it out, and then you want to reconcile that. A lot of these Cat dealers use a platform you may have heard of, Microsoft 365. They use Microsoft Dynamics. So before they had to manually, they use their e-commerce, Shopify, and then they have to go and enter manually. Someone has to manually enter in so that it reconciles the receivables. We deeply integrated real-time payments, accepting payments inside Microsoft 365. We have 2 customers piloting that today in that environment. So meeting the customers where they are so they don't have to do anything in that environment, right? It's not a payment for them. It's just an invoice. They want to buy a part. It goes through. They reconcile, reduce impact for the back office staff of your company. And then the last is complex workflows. So we talked a lot about some things we're doing with Microsoft. We talked about things yesterday we're doing with Bottom Line Technologies, but really complex payables. So now there's a lot of payment types. We don't want our customers to worry about whether it's going to be RTP, whether it's going to be FedNow, whether it's going to go over the Visa rail, the MasterCard, OCT transaction, Visa Direct, MasterCard Send. We're having one API to do payables and integrate that into the processes for our customers. We call that AP Optimizer, and we have that live today. And we're looking at how we integrate it into things like Microsoft 365. We're also looking at how, we'll talk about it, yesterday, Gil from Microsoft was here, and he was talking about how we use Power Platform and can connect to things that aren't Microsoft related. I see Gil right there. So SAP, Oracle, traditional ones. So how we integrate those solutions in platforms that are not Microsoft based. That's some magic. So it's really hard for me to talk internally. I say, well, Microsoft's going to connect to SAP, or Microsoft's going to connect to Oracle, and people's heads explode. So we need to work on some branding. I think that's why they don't know Microsoft Power Platform. But other than that, it's really powerful, pun intended, and look forward to see how we can really leverage that solution, scale, and integrate these next generation payment things in the environments. So Ken Gruber, if you were here yesterday morning, Ken also hit on driveway.com. This is a real good example. Has anyone bought a car in the last 2 years? Has anyone bought a car online in the last 2 years? A couple. Cool. Well, so what we did with driveway.com, they're owned by a company called Lithia Motors. I live in Boston, so up in the Northeast, Carvana, same idea. They're in the Pacific Northwest. They're in Minneapolis. Our CEO, there's a big sign like, get your money right now. So you want to sell your car and you want your money. So you sell your car, you go online, they give you an estimate, they pull up, they pick up your car, and they press a button, and you have your money. The car drives away. The money is in your bank account in 20 minutes. That's great customer experience. That's changing how we do business. That's deeply embedding the payment instruction inside traditionally painful operation, right? So that's live. We're doing that and leveraging that with RTP and as FedNow, and even leveraging the Visa rails and MasterCard rails, and be able to do real-time closing for that. So excited to talk about the stuff we're doing with Microsoft. I highlighted before, but really how payment capabilities can be put inside the Microsoft ecosystem. So today, if you have accounts payables, accounts receivable clerks, that's where you're reconciling your payments, that's where you're doing your books. That's the back office for a lot of small businesses. So we've thought a lot about how you embed these payments inside that environment to make it easy. So I mentioned the cat dealership or the John dealership. That's real. It goes from the website into the ERP system. It's reconciled. There's no books get settled, easy. So that's like the complex things that we're working on with our friends at Microsoft, and I think a lot more things. So we also yesterday we talked how U.S. Bank really differentiates itself. We envision both banking and payments in these ecosystems in the future. So not only doing the payment, but what if you need cash flow, and you need a loan against that receivable. So think about doing, past being a consultant, we talked about this for 20 years. But the reason why these things haven't come together, there's no one place where the data resides, where the payment instruction, putting that all together is really what I think the next 3 to 5 years will be all about. Deeply embedding, changing how customers look at payments, how they can look at the associated cash management, make decisions against that, get a loan if they need it online, real time, and have the entire process be automated in their back office. That's where we're heading with working capital and things like that. So I think a couple interesting statistics. 29% of companies currently offer some form of embedded finance services. I think that was interesting. I don't know. I didn't think, I would have said it was like 2%, but real statistic. But 85% of those companies report increased customer retention and revenue. So that is a big deal, right? This is a study done by McKinsey. And, so we know we're onto something, right? You embed inside the business processes that have been around for a long time. You reduce your overhead, you reduce the friction, you help your customers, you help your back office. There's real importance. 51% of brands considering offering embedded financial services in the next year. So how we really think about it is banking and payments go together, and we look at deeply embedding these payments inside ecosystems, meeting the customers where they are. So we have a studio we do for large customers. We have a studio, we bring them into New York. We used to bring them into New York. Now it's all virtual. It'll be, we'll all get together in person again. And we map out the flows, understand where they are in the customer journey. We build the prototypes. End-to-end journeys is really where led by payments and banking are the APIs that we're building to make the journeys and make customers more efficient and meet them where they are on the digital journey. So with that, I will open questions.
Peter?
Yes.
Your slide just there, 51% are considering it. From your discussions, what are you hearing as the biggest barriers to them actually implementing?
Yeah, so the question was, what is the biggest barriers to limitations for embedded payments and financial services next year? Is that right, Dave? So I would say this is, so the answer is I don't know from the study. This is personal. I think the legacy systems that are out there, it has been the albatross of businesses, banks, corporations for years. So it is really the back-end infrastructure of these companies. So that's why I'm so bullish on things like Microsoft 365, Power Platform, meeting the customers where they are. You have a legacy system. Oh, we have this thing called Power Platform. If you see it, it does some really cool things. You click here. You don't necessarily have to be a developer. You do it once, do it twice, 3 times, it's a product. Rinse, repeat. So these old systems that are out there, that are general ledgers, and so we can connect and meet them where they are to add these embedded services. So I really think it's a technology limitation and today, and we're trying to get over those barriers with some of the tools, technologies. We talked yesterday, things like Kyriba. They're integrating into the core systems and into financial services, complex banking stuff. That's another example. So meeting the customers where they are, integrating into those legacy systems is a big thing. Next question. Elizabeth.
Yeah, you've been a long time and very forceful advocate for real-time payments for quite a while. Somehow I imagine that this is not the long-term vision that you have, that it's farther afield than that. Maybe that you can share with us today?
Okay, so if I can paraphrase, like what's the long-term vision of RTP, kind of where we are and where we're going? Is that fair? It's my simple way of summarizing it. So I think we're interesting. So many of you know I was involved in the Faster Payments Task Force in 2012. So it's been 10 years since Jay Powell was he led that group, and I was one of 12 people talking about how in the US we're going to roll out real-time payments. So 10 years later, where are we? We're just at the inflection point, finally. We're seeing, so there's public information on the clearinghouse site. They did 14 million payments last month. So in the scheme of things, for those who are at Elevon, like that's nothing, right? That's like, we just did that in a second, right? But the payments are going because I see a lot of the use cases in the early, the driveway.coms, the user experiences are changing. We're working with a broker-dealer who can do loans for their brokerage business, but they want the money, the consumers want their money not in their brokerage account, but in their bank account. So those people are coming to us, and it's just limitations, back to what Dave said, on those, on the legacy systems and just doing that. So I see we're on the transformation, and then, of course, our friends at the Fed have announced that they're gonna be in market in a year. And I think that will be another catalyst. Do I think they'll be live and things going? I think they'll have challenges, but they're making a lot of progress. Whether it's a year or 18 months, we're on the way. And I think the confluence of events of good technology, real business impact by being able to embed these payments, having ubiquity, having both the Fed and the clearinghouse move forward will be something that I think will be in the next 18 to 24 months. RTP, I think, has, or now instant payments. That's the new buzzword. So when you put RTP and Fed Now together, you call it instant payments. So I think instant payments will be really hitting mainstream in the next 18 to 36 months.
Hi, Peter. When you reflect on the last 10 years that you've been involved with RTP, I find it remarkable that we're at a point where we can actually say there's RTP schemes that are considered legacy.
Yeah.
And how would you compare a legacy RTP with what you would consider a next-gen RTP?
So the question was, is RTP already legacy, and how do you compare and contrast the legacy RTP rails and the, the future ones? So I would answer this, is probably not going to like this answer, but for our customers, what we're trying to do is take that away from the customers, put it in the APIs, build it in the APIs, so it doesn't matter to them. So for real customers who are doing this, we want to be able to waterfall those transactions, so it will go down the best rail based on cost, speed, quality, reach, whatever that dynamic is. So that's the way I see it happen. So it's really won't be impactful. That's really, you use the buzzword interoperability, allow them to interoperate. As you know, payments flow like water, and it's going to flow like the best delivery based on the business need, speed, quality, and cost. Lanny, you got to shut off your phone, bro. Our next question. I have 2 minutes, or I have 30 seconds. And last question? Yes. Hi.
I actually used to sell Microsoft Dynamics GP.
Yes.
And CRM.
Yes.
So would this new embedded payments system be a natural integration for GP?
Yeah, really good question. So now we're getting, real payments geeky, Microsoft geeky. So yeah, we're working with, publicly we announced a large, we committed to Microsoft Azure to have US banks back-end technology be modernized. And with that, we're having deep discussions on how we embed banking and payments in Microsoft ecosystems. So things like, you may, in the future, we may be looking at things like, how many people have used Teams in the last 2 days? So maybe I have a telehealth visit next week. I'm turning 55. My wife got me this nutritionist thing, so I have to meet with them next week. And so maybe accepting payments over the Teams. Do you think that's a good idea? Like embedding it in, so I'm not gonna go visit the nutritionist. It's a waste of time for her and me. I'm busy, I scheduled in my time. I'm gonna meet with her, and she needs to accept the copay. So think about embedding it where the customers are. So Microsoft Teams, Microsoft GP, those are the things we're investigating and building, and we're hoping to make some announcements around Money 2020 and AFP in October. So thanks. Last question, and then I get a roll. Yeah. So the question was multifaceted: cost, fraud, a lot of things. So if you want to stick around, we can talk about this for the next 24 hours. So if I can wrap up. So the whole design of RTP was to reduce the fraud for unauthorized debits and push the credits. That's where request for pay. So it should massively reduce the risk of wires and some of those schemes. So the whole design of RTP is to reduce the fraud and risk for those ACH. I don't care how many transactions. So ACH is a batch-based system, 40-year-old batch-based system, limited data fields. Now we're going to a real-time system with rich data. You can do a lot more looking at that data, making real-time decisions using that. And there's no unauthorized debits. You can't just pull money out of an account. You, as a consumer or business, have to push the money out. So it was designed for reducing the fraud and doing that. So, that's part of the big thing or value proposition for real-time and instant payments, is reducing that fraud, improving the customer experience. And I'll close on this: build, connect, innovate. All right. So thanks. And I'll talk to you later. Thank you.